Has Beast made impure, even illegal decisions? Yes, there is no argument there. The fact that we just disposed of his booby-trapped body and he's already operating in one resurrected outside the protocols says it all. But if the question shifts, if we ask instead, is Beast an enemy of Krakoa? Well, I don't think there's an easy answer. Today on the Comic Book Report, X-Force Volume 4 by Benjamin Percy from Marvel Comics. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're back in the world of Krakoa era X-Men titles with X-Force Volume 4 by Benjamin Percy. This fourth oversized hardcover edition wraps up his run on this incredible title, and I have waited a long time to finish this run. Before we dive into the review, I just would like to say a huge thank you to those at Panel Bound Comics for sending over this review copy in exchange for review. If you're interested in picking up your own copy of this or any other imprint title right now, I'd actually highly encourage you to check out their website. Panel Bound Comics is this channel's sponsor, and you can find their site link right in this video's description. On their website, if you see any titles you like, you can even use my discount code at checkout, The Comic Book Report, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's X-Force review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Benjamin Percy, with art from Robert Gill, Paul Davidson, and more. The issues in this volume were published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2023. As far as what this edition includes, it collects X-Force, the 2019 series, issues 39 through 50, and finally, this is an oversized hardcover edition with glossy print paper stock, what I believe might be a sewn binding, and a total of 328 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first dedicated look at today's oversized hardcover collection from Marvel, and unsurprisingly, it is uniform with all of the other X-Force hardcovers released in this line. We do have a little bit of kind of that orange color for these X-Force titles, the title, the creators, the volume number, and down below we do have bits from a cover, I believe, of issue 50, and a little Marvel logo there at the bottom. I have to say overall, I'm so happy Marvel decided to release this. I wasn't sure when they stopped doing these oversized hardcovers, and I'm so happy to have the run. Transitioning to the spine as well here, we have the Marvel logo, followed by the series title, X-Force, along with the creators, and again at the bottom, a Volume 4. In case you missed my review of any of the other Krakoa era oversized hardcovers, this kind of form or design aesthetic is very, very common in this era. Each title gets its own color. For the most part, X-Force is this kind of orange. So yeah, it looks really great and colorful on a bookcase if you've been collecting these books. Similarly, on the back of the dust jacket, we have another minimalist kind of design aesthetic. We have some writing here, a blurb about the collection, what it includes, some of the creators. We have some Krakoa language or script there, pricing information on the bottom, everything of that nature. Of course, we retain that color scheme. No real bells or whistles here, but again, this is what you can expect from the uniformity on a lot of these oversized hardcovers. I certainly don't think it's a bad design, but I would have loved to see a little bit more art here on the back. Okay, and as we take one final look at the exteriors, I did want to go ahead and examine that dust jacket in greater detail. This time I will go ahead and take it off so you can see those interior flaps, and we can hold it all out so you can see it at a glance. Now, admittedly, the interior flaps just has some more written work here about the collection or creators. No real meaningful additions here in many ways, but I wanted to give you all a look. Again, other than the art we have on the front cover, everything else is just really orange with some black text. Again, not a bad design, but not overly filled with artwork, should we say. Transitioning to the hardback itself, I can say much of the same thing here. We have kind of a watermarked X-Force title logo here. It's split up a little bit based on how it divides across the cover. We have some details on the spine as well, noting the title and things. Again, this is pretty standard for these Krakoa hardcovers. No pictures here, no really additional information beyond that. But yeah, overall, a pretty well-made little book here. This was about what I expected and just wanted to show it to all of you. Okay, now that we've looked at the exteriors, I did want to transition to a quick look at this book's binding. As I mentioned at the top, I do believe this is a sewn binding, if I'm not mistaken. I will say my copy laid down pretty well. I have no real complaints here. While there's not a ton of an eye in this binding, I didn't really have too much of an issue with gutter loss, but of course you can take a look as I flip through the collection for yourselves to see what you think. But yeah, no complaints from me here on the binding. Now, before we dive into the collection itself, I did want to show this volume along with the first 3 in the set. This collects all of the Benjamin Percy X-Force era with a couple of exclusions. I don't believe we have the X of Swords tie-in issues here in this run. I'm trying to remember if there are any other, non-collected in here. I'm not sure. I can't remember if we have the Judgment Day issues. I think we do. But yeah, the way they mapped these Krakoa books, they left out some of the tie-ins for some of their more aggregated titles like X of Swords, things like that. But for the most part, this is your X-Force run in oversized hardcover. I would love to see a big omnibus of this someday, but until then, I am really happy we still have this in any form. Really happy with that. I know they release trade paperbacks as well, but I am stoked to have these hardcovers. And speaking of hardcovers, to do a quick tease for an upcoming piece of content on the channel, now that we have all of Benjamin Percy's run on both X-Force and Wolverine in oversized hardcover format, I think it's finally time to do a complete retrospective video on both of these runs. He ran about 50 issues on each, and these are kind of like sisters or companion series to each other. Wolverine was part of X-Force during this time, so we get some great cross-pollination. Anyway, can't wait to finally talk about these series all together now that we have it collected, so stay tuned. But for now, we can jump into today's reviewed collection. Yes, this is X-Force Volume 4, the oversized hardcover from Benjamin Percy. As we make our way in after a title page, publication information page, and kind of 2-page spread X-Force page, we jump into the prologue for the first issue in this collection. I love that these Krakoa volumes start with this, a bit of a prologue to set the stage for what's about to happen. Before too long, though, we get to the issue cover and the chapter break here, issue 39, and we are off to the races. From here, we do follow chronologically from issue 39 all the way through this run's conclusion in issue 50, and at the back we do have some extras, but we'll get to that toward the end of this video. So what can we expect from this final volume of X-Force? Of course, if you're watching this, I kind of assume you've been following along with the run, and that may not be the case. So you might be wondering, can I just jump in and read this book? What do I need to know? I would say to start, you want to have the basic understanding of what's been going on in Krakoa since the House of X Powers of 10, and I do recommend reading this full run. It's a fantastic series, and a lot of the characters in the team and a lot of the current conflicts have been building over the last couple years of the run and the run on Wolverine. Again, Benjamin Percy was writing both titles at the time, and I love to see the kind of intermingling between those titles. Obviously, having Wolverine in both series was a really notable character there, but for right now, this run itself in volume 4, it basically has 2 main stories that get resolved. We have the resolution of the Colossus storyline that has been kind of simmering in the background for a lot of the Krakoa era, and we also have the resolution to the Beast storyline. If you didn't know, during the Krakoa era, Hank McCoy, the Beast, is put in charge of X-Force, especially the tactical side of X-Force, but throughout his time in Krakoa, we see him get a bit more nefarious, should we say, as we go. He's leaning into the more darker aspects of his nature, and we see him ultimately get corrupted. He makes a lot of questionable decisions, particularly in this X-Force run, and we have just been waiting for this final epic showdown. Throughout the last couple volumes and in Wolverine, we've seen him really go off the deep end, try to kill Wolverine, try to make Wolverine clones or things to have a little standing army, and more very, very questionable experiments. Before we get to that showdown with the Beast, though, or even really the conclusion for Colossus's arc, we basically start with this interesting time travel narrative that has Kid Omega from the future kind of time displacing the X-Force team. We end up in a far-flung dystopian future where Beast has kind of instituted a police state of sorts. He has everything monitored by the Sentinels that are now under his control. Mutants are kind of the superior class, and he only has a small vestige of humanity left, kind of dumbed down and thrown in a zoo. It's a really bleak future, and here we have X-Force basically falling in from their present time into this future, and it disrupts Beast's plan. I really like this aspect of the run, though. It was really fun to see a future Kid Omega really off of his game, shall we say. This was also a really fun arc for Deadpool, who was playing kind of a court gesture of sorts. I really like seeing how they functioned with him there, and also just having a kind of warm-up lap for the final conclusion between Beast and X-Force. This arc was really a fun entry into this volume. From that story, we do finally get the resolution for everything going on with Colossus. I know I've hinted at this a couple times. If you don't know, Colossus is basically being mind-controlled by this mutant who has the ability to write things down, and what he writes happens. This is happening at the behest of Colossus's brother, who is pulling strings behind the scenes to basically dismantle Krakoa from within. Instead of asking his brother for help, he just decides to mind control him and have Colossus play spy. We've already seen aspects of this happen throughout this run and other kind of X titles, so we know that there's been something here looming, and the time is ripe. At this point, actually, Colossus is put in charge of X-Force, at least kind of the tactical operations, with Sage, I believe, being kind of Sage is kind of the tactical head of X-Force at this time, and Colossus is the field expert kind of leader at the time. So he's poised to be in a very, very delicate position, and his brother's trying to exploit that. However, these schemes all come to light with the help of Domino, because in that future storyline, some of the mind control faded, and Colossus was saying he thought something was wrong, and basically hinted at Domino where his secrets may be buried. So when they get back to the past, Domino unearths this, and it leads to this final epic conclusion, a lot of which is in this mind dimension, and it's really intense. We have a brother versus brother storyline that ends in tragedy in many ways, but it's a fantastic story arc. After that, we do start to get toward the conclusion of the run, the final story. This all occurs after the final, or at least final for now, Hellfire Gala, which really begins the end or the fall of X. This is toward the end of the Krakoa era. The mutants are sort of on the run, and in this space, I should say, this is where we have the final showdown with Beast. To try to take down the Beast, Sage has a very, very risky plan, which is to bring to life this last clone of the Beast who has his mind backed up to a time where his motives were more pure. This Beast comes into the picture, and Wolverine is very displeased that they have brought him back, because they worry they're going to have to double down now on two Beasts. However, as the Beasts meet, we get to this kind of cool philosophical debate between them, and we get to see the younger Beast really espouse his morals and what they should stand for, and kind of note and underscore how the Beast has been corrupted. And suddenly we have Beast versus X-Force, and it's a really thrilling end of the run. And by the time we reach the end of issue 50, was I deeply satisfied with this run? Yeah, honestly, I thought that this was a really fun ride. However, was I hoping it to maybe exceed expectations a bit more? Yeah, I think they landed the plane successfully, and overall I was very satisfied, but I think it could have been even more of an epic finale. That being said, I feel like all the plot threads were cleaned up rather nicely, and I ultimately liked to see what happened with this team. I felt like the end was certainly fitting, and it paid off rather nicely. There's also a little bit of teases as to what's about to happen in the Sabretooth War over on the Wolverine title. If you'd like to see my review of the Wolverine Sabretooth War Omnibus, you can definitely find that on the channel. I reviewed it not too long ago. But yeah, that really brings us toward the end of this collection. At the very end, we do have a little essay or afterword by some of the run creators, including Benjamin Percy. I thought that this was a really nice feature and special feature to have at the end of this final book. And after that, we are treated to the cover art gallery and variant cover art gallery, where we have all of those covers retained here, and some of the other ones, like I said, the variants. And that really about wraps it up for X-Force Volume 4. While I finish flipping through the last of this collection, I will just reflect more on this run now that I finally completed it. Again, this was years in the making for me. I started this run shortly after it got collected in the first volume, and I was just eagerly awaiting for them to collect it finally in this last oversized hardcover. Again, I'm so happy Marvel did this. If you're looking for the darker edge of the X titles or universe, X-Force is usually a good stop. They handle the darkest, kind of dirtiest Black Ops of missions, and I think during the Krakoa era, it's just fascinating to see them as kind of this security force. And as Krakoa is destabilized toward the end of this run, I just like to see what the team was up to, and I am curious to see what X-Force titles do in the future. This was a really memorable and fun run for me, and it's one I'll think about quite often. And now, the grade. For a satisfying conclusion to many of the ongoing plot threads, The Comic Book Report is happy to give X-Force Volume 4 by Benjamin Percy a B. I really enjoyed how this run resolved overall. Could they have done a bit more? Of course, but I do think it was still deeply satisfying. Something I didn't touch on enough in my review is just how great and consistent the art is. That is something I would definitely like to commend as well. The style was all there, the character models were unique, I loved the paneling and the flow of action I thought was superb, and overall I just had a blast with this run in general. I highly recommend this if you're looking for a Krakoa era run. This and the companion Wolverine series I think are pretty high on my list for some of the all-time best in that Krakoa era. But of course, these are just my thoughts on this oversized hardcover. I'd love to hear yours. Is this a run you've read? What about his run on Wolverine? And beyond that, what are your favorite Krakoa era X titles or other great works from Benjamin Percy? Let me know that and more in the comments section. Again, a huge thank you to those at Panelbound Comics for sending over this review copy, and for all of you for taking this ride with me. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, those comments we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone. Bye.